deleting from the anime canon. There are so many anime out there that I love. But there are one or two plot points that prevent me from giving it a 10 out of 10, you know? Or even close to a 10 out of 10. And just things that could be taken out and nothing would be affected, really.
So this
And
isn't.
you just wonder, why was this put in here in the first place? It's that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
we're
So
just
this
talking
is.
about things we just swipe away.
Sorry. So this isn't like a nitpick of like, oh, I don't like this show and I don't like this and this and this. This is like shows that we enjoy, that we're big fans of, but have like one or two pitfalls or hurdles that it just doesn't clear. And we're just like, oh, if that was just not in the show.
Yeah.
I failed the
Something
assignment.
that's
That
so
is
easily
definitely not my
changed.
pick.
So
Oh, I failed that assignment. I did not. I do
gave
not
the
love this show.
clarification today.
After I already planned to talk about this thing since yesterday.
well, if you can still talk about it if you want, but I think Caroline should
talking
lead
about it.
off with an example of one that really was like, this
Okay.
is emblematic
Yeah.
of what we're here to do.
This is the number one thing I thought about this entire time, and everything else came later. And it's about Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju. It's not a secret that that is one of our favorite shows on this podcast because both me and Mason, I think Mitsugi too, we all love this show. We talk about it way too much. But there is something in this show that I despise. And I gasped when I saw this. And I'm not saying that this is the only thing keeping this show from a 10 out of 10. I think I gave the show a 9 out of 10 overall. That's probably not like the solitary reason, but it is something that I wonder, why was this included? And I don't want to be too detailed in what this thing is because I don't want to. It is a spoiler. It comes in like in the last episode. They did this to me in the last episode of the series. But generally speaking, Konatsu, the girl in the show in the second season, she has a child. That's not too much of a spoiler. But the problem comes in when they imply who the father of this child is. And it's not like 100% certain, but the mere implication of who it could possibly be, and they doubled down on this implication. It's freaking gross. And I don't care who the father of this child is. I could not know who this father of the child is, and I would not care by the end of the series. But their inclusion of it, really, that's what I was thinking about when I ended this show. Not the 100 amazing things about the show. And I'll just leave it at that.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't think it was such a pitfall from me. And like, to me, there are plenty of moments from shows that I don't like. Whether it's from like a death or a torment or bad things suffered by good characters, from like Berserk, Heavenly Delusion, Fullmetal Alchemist, like those are important moments that I wouldn't touch. This one, I think, just stings a little bit more because it's at the very end and like there's no recovery from it. Like, you don't see how the show like tries to justify it or anything. It just is like, and this and bye, and you're like, okay. So
But it kills me because they didn't try to. They didn't try to do anything with that. There was no reason for that being there. But they just like, if I were to give a food analogy, which you so love to do, it is like giving me a supreme sundae with high quality ice cream, whipped cream,
oh, now you're talking.
cherry, sprinkles. It looks delicious. And then you drizzle on some expired, disgusting topping, like chocolate syrup if it tasted like shit. Like, you can get around that. You can still have a really enjoyable sundae. But you put it on at the end, and you didn't have to put it on at the end. You could have just left it out, but you put it on anyway.
See, this is more like putting a rotten cherry on top.
Yeah, you know
like,
what? That's more like it.
It's easy enough for me to remove it, though. Like, I can kind of forget about that.
Yeah, you're far better at the food analogy. That was correct.
I just choose to ignore that. No, that's good. Otaku, do you have? We can just go around the table on this and just keep on playing ping pong.
So for me, the first thing that came to my mind, and I want to give you guys context. So I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion as it was released in the United States. So we're talking one VHS tape at a time, and there were significant gaps of time before the next one would be released. So you're looking at like 2 or 3 episodes per VHS tape, and you're going on this journey. And this is when anime is still really starting to break into the United States as an entertainment medium. And it was like nothing we had ever seen before. Yeah, we had Robotech with mechs, but Evangelion was like nothing we had ever seen. So me and my friends, we couldn't wait for the next volume to come out. And we went on this journey with this franchise and watched and watched. And the end was all of our first experience with a what the fuck was that moment. Like, are you kidding me? This is how you end the show. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody if anybody is interested in trying, but it's
You know how to
basically
spoil it. It's kind of hard to talk
I
about.
mean, if
all,
you don't
all
know
I'm
about it by this point, congratulations, you avoided
I
so
mean,
many
to
spoilers.
me,
Congratulations,
to
indeed.
me, the end of the show was like the writers had a plan. They were going through it. The angels and everything were building up. And then they all said, okay, let's drop acid, snort coke, smoke meth, and write an ending. And that's what vomited onto the
I
screen.
know it's
You
so
know,
good, right? I
oh
You know
love
my
what's
it. I
God.
funny?
love the ending so
And
much.
you know what's the craziest part? It is actually the most coherent of the endings. That is the
It's
set.
so
That's
bad.
It's actually the most coherent and actually the most logical of all the endings we get for Evangelion is those last 2 episodes of that show, which is wild to me how crazy it is. And that's the funny part.
But you think how many times they've tried to redo it. Like, if I remember correctly, the actual author had to apologize for the ending when it initially aired because even the Japanese public was like, bro, what the fuck? What is this? And it just it that entire journey, I love that franchise up to the last 2 episodes. I almost wipe it from my mind like Promise Neverland season 2. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist. I don't acknowledge it. I refuse to
It's a
acknowledge it.
shame.
It's
That's
just
a shame.
Yeah,
I
but
I
I don't
absolutely
agree.
adore the ending. I am a huge fan of it. I love how they just I understand if you were watching it so segmented and so like not just being able to binge it, if you had to be like, okay, I waited months for the next 3 episodes and like this is what I get. Did I put in the wrong disc? Like did I get a bad copy? Like I could get that frustration the same way that people who like despise the Endless Eight, who had to watch it week to week and waited 6 days for just it to dupe them again. Like I understand that. But as someone who is mentally superior than all of mankind, I thought it was so good. I loved
True.
it.
No, honestly,
I'm on Otaku Cop's side. I just don't get it. And I'm probably just not smart enough to get it.
well,
that's
and we were
fair.
like 18 and 19-year-olds watching this, and we're not smart enough for any deep diving, nuanced conversation that goes further into extra meaning. We were just like,
The cool robots, where'd they go?
Yeah.
Uh,
In
I
general, I hate surrealism. I'm like, just let me enjoy my shit. Don't make it weird.
Oh, and you know what's interesting about Evangelion and I'm not. I honestly think the show is overrated in a lot of different ways. I understand what it did for anime and whatnot. I think it's overrated. I Until I saw the other endings to that show, I was just like, what the hell happened here? He literally ran out of budget. There's no way he planned for this. And then over the years, and I watched this when I was like in my mid 20s. I didn't watch it when I was 16, like some of my friends or whatnot, who like it became this transformative, like emo experience for them. I watched it later in life, quote unquote. And what's interesting is that you realize that Hideaki Anno is actually just a giant troll who got pigeonholed into this being his like seminal work of fiction, that he never really wanted it to be his seminal work of fiction, that it makes him so much money that he can do whatever he wants. And so every time he may have apologized, but I don't think he never meant that apology. He just did it because he had to, and it's the Japanese thing to do, quote unquote. And every piece of media he has put out since then has basically been him trolling Evangelion fans for saying, you guys are overthinking this. This is just a show I made. Right? Like, that's how you get in the third movie that scene with the piano, the infamous scene with the piano, which I think is a seminal moment in anime movie history, personally. Anyway, that's just my opinion, though. But I
Yeah.
agree. I wish they made those episodes look better. I don't. Also, if you delete them, Ava is a mess, and that's just exactly how it should be, in my opinion. Also,
Animator84 in the Twitch chat is saying, not in love with Evangelion, but my mind immediately went to scene, or I can't even read, but my mind went straight to 2 scenes from End of Evangelion. And I know exactly which ones you're talking about, and I get it. I get it. There's a scene where Shinji just gets a little too passionate and lets a little of himself out. And yeah, that's pretty yikes, but overall, good pick, Otaku. Even if I don't agree, I definitely see where you're coming from. So, good call.